table settings. Have you ever been lucky enough to sit at a table festooned with flowers? Well, now's your opportunity to give that to somebody else. I can tell you there's nothing like it. What we've done is travelled, collected and interviewed people who are in the middle of making beautiful table designs that you can use for the next time you want to make somebody feel really loved, very special, or you've got a great big event planned. So enjoy what's coming up and have a go yourself.
Floral Art members are gathering for an area day. The designers arrive for their individual designs, they have a cup of tea, and the team designers arrive for a table setting for two for romance. The basic design in the middle of this was done in a tray, camellia leaves around the rim and hydrangeas in the middle. You can see little loops there of astelia which are just giving it some interest, and then they've placed those roses, and that became the centerpiece. Then around the outside of the cloth you can see the ladies here are actually stitching on beautiful silver chiffon bows from corner to corner, and they are actually hiding the roll that goes and loops between those two bows. There's the bow. She's all ready to sew it on. Nothing was going to escape on this design by the Waihi Floral Art Club designers. Trimming it all off, making sure that everything is just perfect. You can see those little sticks coming out of that basic design. That's where they're going to actually place the candlesticks later. It was their guide of where they were going to put the perspex tubes. Now they're starting the pinning. They are pinning the roses onto the bows and onto that lovely piece of glass. You can see it's a little piece of astelia that has been crossed over the stem and then the rose. Now in go the candlesticks, on top of which you can see the floral foam. It's hidden by that roll of astelia, and into the foam has gone the candle and a little bit of hydrangea and another rose. They're right in the middle of placing more sticks. There they are all up. The sticks are on, and now they're hanging those globes down and positioning that serviette. The holder is made with a piece of cardboard, more astelia, very carefully layered and glued around the actually serviette, and then another piece is the ring that she's just adjusting there for you. Tiny little beautiful red rosebud is tucked in to one of those strips, and that part of this is done. Here you can see they are adding the roses. They were quite fragile, these. The lady who made them was a little worried about how they were going to last on top of those perspex rods, but they did. You just had to be gentle with them to straighten those candles. And there it is, a little straightener. Yes, got to get that candle absolutely right, and it's done. Ice into the ice bucket. Wasn't real ice. It was plastic ice. There's the serviette with a velvet napkin inside it. All the best crockery and cutlery. It's pretty spectacular. You see how they've also put the globes that they hung from the candles also down into the base. And oops! Who's left the pins? Just get rid of those and it is done. A beautiful design for a romantic dinner for two from the Waihi Floral Art Club. Caddy Floral Art Club are in the same competition, and they are about to start. They've laid the table, green chiffon runner, and here comes a piece de resistance. It's on a metal stand, and you can see it is covered with glorious wire and just a twin hair fern and ribbon. Set in the corner, and the two diners will be sitting side by side. Here Julie is actually making a beautiful serviette. She started with the square, folded it into the corners, turned it over, folded it into the corners again. So you can see now she's using that glass just to hold down those corners as she pulls from underneath the four corners, pulling from underneath, holding that glass down, and then pulling also the ones from the middle. And voila, she has got herself this beautiful pink, almost lotus bottom rosy serviette, which they're going to feature later on in their parts. Now they've added silver crockery, which is interesting. The reason for this would be so that it matches the silver of the aluminium wire that's going up the stand at the back. Inserted into that stand you can see little glass files, and they're filling them up with water. Meanwhile, down at the bottom here, Julie is putting little matching pink pins into the middle of the orchid, so as you look down into it, it gives it a nice shiny accent. The flower files are now filled with water. Now that is a hypodermic syringe, and we in New Zealand get it from our veterinary clinics. They use it for drenching sheep and cattle. Finally, the orchids are now being put into those files, and if necessary, those files are being positioned so that we're getting a nice spiral of orchids going up that stand. There it is, there's a serviette rose waiting for something that's going to go in the middle there. They're just checking here that all the orchids are where they want them to create an eye path. And there it is, yes, it's an avocado with an orchid in the middle of it. To keep the avocados from going brown, just a squirt of lemon on them does the trick. Now they're using bear grass to make heart shapes. It's quite tricky. By pushing the one end into the water source and then wiring the other end down and looping it so that you're getting that heart shape. Not particularly easy to do, takes a little bit of effort. And the finished result, rather lovely in lime green and pink, quite a different combination, but well worth having a try with. Matamata Floral Art Club, they started with a white tablecloth on a white tablecloth. You can see there they're just checking it's right, and they have just put down a wire netting. Now do that, boom, with the bag if the wire netting won't stay in place. There it is close up, it's quite fine wire netting, and they've made a loop in it. It's probably just a second piece, and that's laid over it. Now sorting out the colour scheme, you can see it's rather a lovely tealy green. Once again, another unusual colour scheme, tealy green. I'm wondering what colour those flowers are going to be. And here's our first clue. Rosalie is now attaching the first colour lily to the wire netting that has been crumpled down the side. Down at the bottom there she has put floral foam in a tray, and there's the top of the colour coming over the top with the maidenhair fern, so it's bringing it up through. She's building that colour lily and maidenhair fern, so it's bringing the design from the very bottom of the table right up. A few roses in there as well, so we now know it's going to be pink and lime tealy colour. Have a look, you'll see here she is winding the wire around the water source, and meanwhile her companion is making a serviette out of the same wire by turning it round, pretty hard on the hands this, so that it matches. And there it is, you can see it there finished, and they are almost ready now to tackle the top. Once again, you can see, as all New Zealanders do, that's what we use to fill up those flower files. We're now on the other side. You can see that Rosalie has attached them with the wire she was putting around to the wire netting. Just loop it round the rim of the glass file, twist, 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 and it's ready to be filled with the water. Maidenhair fern gets in a beautiful tangle. It has to be pulled apart, and here are the roses. Now once again, Rosalie is putting them into flower files, and you can see she's now using that structure of the wire netting to hold those flower files. It means you can put in as many flowers as you want, and it's a really good thing to have in the back of your mind next time you want to hold up lots and lots of flower files. Think about very fine wire netting. You can even spray it different colours. She's working down the side, and there go them in, and shredding flax. If you've never seen flax shredded, that is so hard to say. In her hand she has either got a metal pin holder or a very sharp comb, and you just pull it down and shred it in, and in it goes into the same water sources as the roses and the maidenhair fern are in. Pop it in, and then just keep it floating down. This is a very cool technique if you can't get hold of steel grass or beer grass, and make sure it runs in the same line as the rest of them, and it adds that little bit of contrast. It's looking pretty good. I've got to say it's almost finished. Final little checks. Is everything in its right place? Make sure everything's straight. And approval has been given. They have finished. And there it is, the second side with all the roses going in there. Wonderful. And then it was the turn of the Morrinsville Floral Art Club. Look at those glorious Gloriosa lilies. They started with a red tablecloth with a black runner on it, and two beautiful, very, very clean martini glasses. Into the middle we now have a little white dish, and that is cream floral foam. You will see very shortly they use two of these as their water sources. Maidenhair fern is now being pulled apart, and just quietly the stems put in to that cream floral foam before they started adding the Gloriosa lilies. You now see a white vine is also going in and being entwined around it. This is a homegrown, rather exotic vine, and some Adesia berries being placed onto the white dishes. Have a look at this. You will see here she is using these same Adesia berries and cold gluing them onto a little black paper covered box as a gift. Doing the same thing here. It's cold glue she's using onto a shoe, which they use just for a bit of fun to park underneath the table. Rather a nice comic little touch, but doing a beautiful job. Finally, they're adding the same berries to the dishes and starting to look more and more finished. You can see there it is a green piece of wire with a red bead on the end. It has been put in, and ding, in goes the floating candle. A little bit of a blow to get rid of the dust. Lisa straightens everything up, and it's done. And now it is the turn of the Patararoo Floral Art Club, who have just arrived and brought all their bits and pieces, and my cold's disappeared, and that helps too. Alright, so they've started with a white tablecloth, under which they are putting these pads. Now I'm still not certain why they did this. It must have been some deep and meaningful reason to have those pads under there that perhaps all will be revealed later. They have their tape measure out. They're actually checking to see that everything is straight and square and centered, because this is a stack of coasters. Very common to be able to buy these coasters in New Zealand, and clever ladies, they are using these as their stand. Onto the coasters, you can see they've put a piece of glass, and now they are starting to unpack things. Have a look there, it's all being shined up, and there's a little packet. It's a piece of floral foam around which they've wrapped a stelia and then some bling. And these packets are appearing, more and more and more of them, being stacked up as an ingenious mechanic to hold everything else. Now we have a chiffon bow being tied. Gypsophila is being pushed into that floral foam in that stack of little Astelia bundles on the glass. A very pretty design, this one. We have the chiffon bow. We're ready to attach it. We're checking the tape measure at the centre of the table. And now it is being sewn on. See how she's gathered up that cloth so it's giving this beautiful shirred effect, and then sewing the bow into the middle. Now the roses have arrived. Checking to see just how long she wants that stem, and in they go. They are actually being pushed into the floral foam between the astelia in the bundles. These bundles are wonderful. You can use them for long tables. Prepared earlier, the astelia holds the moisture in. You push in the roses and with amongst the gypsophila. Yummy. While they're doing that, you can see the little white bowls which are on the plates. They're actually cut out heart shapes in floral foam, which you can see on your left there. Once the heart shape's been cut out, they have then covered the edges with astelia and filled them also with white flowers. Here they go, they're pushing them all through. What's wonderful about having it raised like that is it gives it far more of a presence. There you can see the heart shape waiting to begin, and there it is completed. Five ladies working on this. They worked very hard. They got it done very quickly. Now we have a rose in a file being tied on to that gathered part of the bow on the middle part of that table. See, she's just tying a bow around it to hold it on. It is a rose and a little bit of gypsophila, and they have covered up that glass file with astelia so you can't see it. You can see there on the left the glass files waiting to go on. Nice modern white crockery, stainless steel cutlery, the rose in the middle of the floral foam heart with a little bit of camellia, and there's the serviette ring, a rose in the glass. What more could a person want for a romantic dinner? Oh, okay, a person would want some more candles. You can't have enough candles. Can you see there? That is lamb's ear that they've used to go around that heart-shaped foam. Camellias on the top, leaves, on the top, and then a rose. I'll leave you to enjoy. Now it is the turn of the Thames Floral Art Club, and they have a mirror. They started off with a white tablecloth, as you can see, and a green chiffon runner, and a mirror which they've raised up with on each corner. Onto the top of the mirror they have also put a little chiffon square, and somebody has arrived with this design already made. It is magnificent. It is in a container. They have covered the foam with camellia leaves layered, which you can't see very well there, but you'll see later on. Beautiful basing of all sorts of greenery that's so common in New Zealand, and then beautiful white roses and lovely candles in those glass candle holders, giving it a little fluff up with some water and adding an apple on one side, an apple on the other side. Couldn't get too many details with this one for you because they did arrive with this beautiful piece already made. Now they're just titivating, and there it is. It's a bought artificial apple, and they have made a heart, put little bits of bling around it, and a lovely label, probably done on their computer. Somebody who's quite fastidious for detail. All the greens and white, very fashionable, clean and crisp. And a serviette ring you can see there with camellia leaves and a single white rose. Very glam. There, closer look at that pre-arranged design in the middle. Nice work, and sorry we couldn't get more details for you, but if you are a senior designer you'll find that fairly easy to replicate. And now to the Hearts and Homes Trail for the Arahanui Hospice in the Manawatu region of New Zealand. 3 floral art clubs, 3 florists created beautiful table settings in lovely homes.
So now we are in the dining room. She's hiding underneath here, is Mark. And so tell us what delicious things you've been doing here.
Well, this is happening.
You made yourself?
No, I didn't.
You
One of
bought
our
it?
club members
Yes.
has made the harpony. And
Tell us how.
It's made by a pasta, put through a pasta machine.
Yes.
Now, was it in your
Yes.
magazine? Well, she's followed those instructions.
And hasn't
So there we are.
and hasn't she done a beautiful job, because she's twirled it as it's
Yes,
drying,
yes.
and that's variegated flax, so it's just giving this beautiful effect, like a ribbon's
Yes,
going down, isn't it?
It is. It's lovely, isn't it?
Yes.
And it should keep that curl.
And it will dry.
I'm sure it
The
will.
ones that I've done have dried the most beautiful cream.
But they really...
Yeah, they're just gorgeous.
And they keep that way for how long?
Well, mine's 2 years old.
Oh,
Yeah, so it'll really go.
Good.
So you've started with these 2 big black well,
Yes,
elegant black
yes.
stands. And what have you put in the top in there?
oasis in
Yeah.
the top, and covered that with ivy leaves. And then I've been given those special, it's a special fern. Do you know the name
This
of it?
one here.
Yes,
Oh, it's definitely called special fern.
special fern.
What makes it special?
Well, it's uncommon. You don't see it very often.
That's why we don't know its name.
That's why you don't know its name. So she works in a nursery, and she asked the people in the nursery if she could have a piece, and they said no, because it's very new and they want to propagate it.
But there it is.
That's it.
So she
there.
did get a piece.
Well, she was able to pick, but not a root.
Oh, okay.
Not a
I see
root.
that. Because it's got this lovely little curly thing
It
happening on the
has.
top of here that you don't
Yes.
normally see in a fern.
Yes.
All right, so
very
once again,
pretty.
you saw it first at the Martin Floral Art Club.
Martin Floral Art Club.
And it's going to be hot and popular over the next year or two.
We hope so. Eventually, if it gets out into the public and out of the nursery.
Yeah, and so these are these are St John's or Hypericum
Hypericum,
Yeah.
that's right.
and Lysianthus.
And Lysianthus, and what else have I put on there? It's right, just about 4 things, and the chrysis.
Oh, these great
Isn't
big
that an
beautiful ones in
unusual
here.
colour?
Isn't it gorgeous? It's golden, isn't it?
It is. It's beautifully with the berries.
What's nice about the way you've done the table is that you haven't put them in the middle. You've put them either side,
yes,
so people can still see through there.
Yes. And just the 4 settings rather than, as you say, on either end.
So how are you going to finish it off?
I'm just putting these in here,
which are succulents. What are these little
Succulents,
things?
that's off the liquid amber tree.
Oh,
Those are the
yes.
seed pods. And then I've got serviettes, which I'm going to wrap a little bit of harpony around. This is the harpony.
And this is how it was prepared for you. Through the pasta machine, then rolled like that,
And roll back.
clipped up with a paper clip that you hope hasn't ripped at all, and there it is done.
There it is.
Look at that.
Like that.
And you can pull it out just ever so gently.
Yes, you can,
Look, isn't
can't
that
you?
lovely?
Pasta machine. Fancy a pasta machine doing
I
that.
know. And
I'm going to
Mark's got all sorts of other things down under here I've got to show you. Look at that. So this is so you know how she's preparing her succulents. See, they've all got a toothpick on
pushing them
them.
onto a toothpick. It's the only way you can actually, otherwise they've got thick stems and it's hard to get into the oasis, and they will stay, once you place them, they
They just stay put.
beautifully.
And you can also then still grow them
Yes, you can.
after you're finished. So it works really
Yes.
well. So you never run out.
No.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you for that. We'll come back when you're finished
you?
and stop hassling you.
There it is, all done. It's all finished and looking particularly magnificent. I know that the people who actually own this house had a dinner party after the festival using exactly this setting. And there's the pasta flax being used with the brand new carnation in the middle. Sideboard on the side there with the candles which were lit for the occasion for the night, with succulents and callas all in trays with floroflame blocks in there, just adding that sense of occasion. Can you imagine when the candles were lit, what a beautiful atmosphere there would have been at this dining table?
And this is Jenny Munro. Now, Jenny has been with the Manawatu area for simply ages, and she's well known throughout New Zealand as a demonstrator. Travels not just in New Zealand, did you used to travel
I've
overseas?
been to Australia, England, Canada and South Africa.
So, if you're in those countries, you might recognise Jenny and we go, ha ha ha, we found her again for you. Now, Jenny, tell us about this beautiful table display you did.
Well, this is a really authentic silver candelabra which was given to me, and I just absolutely adore it because it just seems to go into my house. And so I brought it to this place today because it seemed to go with her furniture and the various styles of design of furniture. So we've kept it a very sort of 50s design through.
And light and fluffy.
Light and yes, and mostly garden flowers. In fact, most of them are out of our gardens except these Lysianthus.
And what are your mechanics here? Have you used floral foam? Or
No, they're quite deep, the little cones, and I was able to just use that. But down here there is a dish that I've got flowers into oasis in there.
And what is the way you place them? And the modern way of placing it isn't nearly as light and airy. So what did they do in that generation where we can see it here that's so different?
Well, I think the choice of plant material. We've used a lot of what we call busy plant material rather than big leaves and big flowers.
Which is the modern look, isn't it?
Exactly, yes. So in this design, and I sort of threw it through to this one, it's more dainty type of plant material, really garden sort of plant material.
So we're going for the maidenhair ferns and all of the things. So if this is modern, we'd have big bold leaves in there and things
Exactly, I'd probably put this leaves going right through and perhaps more of a diagonal or something, but this is a purely traditional, really symmetrical design.
Yes, it's also. So that's the key. If anybody wants to do this sort of designing, is to go for the things that we don't actually do with the.
Yes, exactly, and just remember your triangle and keep it involved in that. Yes,
It's amazing.
but
Was it hard to go back to traditional?
well, not when you're using something so beautiful, and it just lends itself. And I think a lot of people are frightened about using garden flowers. I mean, we have these beautiful gardens in New Zealand, and we just love going out and picking them and putting them in, and this is what now?
This is the start. This is the start of flower arranging in New Zealand,
right.
isn't it? We did it because we wanted to just go and do our gardens.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you, Jenny. We'll let all the people go through it trying to get past this here, and we'll carry on.
Thank you very much, Tricia. Good.
Now we've discovered Anne James. Now Anne has been in the Manawatu for ages and won Design of the Year New Zealand. What year was that?
201.
2001.
2001 in Tauranga.
That's right, a magnificent piece. So it's a real privilege to be able to find Anne and capture her right in the middle. She's right in the middle of doing this table piece in this beautiful house. Now Anne's just been to explain to me that the gentleman who owns the house loves his glass fruit, and the glass fruit are in little bowls all through the house just as part of their normal decoration. So Anne has taken the glass fruit, and tell us about this, Anne?
The lady of the house, she has the glass fruit normally on this table. All her glass fruit arranged along the middle, and the colours of the fruits are so bright and eye-catching. So we wanted to continue the theme of the fruit, and that has inspired us to make a glass mirror, and we have put the gilded edging on it, and we carry the gilded edging through into the bases for the containers. So that has really been the glass, and the colours have been the inspiration for the design.
So you're going very, very rich, royal,
right.
sort of, aren't they? They're
Yes,
vibrant, beautiful, but rich, not sort of a clowny style.
That's true,
How did you keep away what I call clown colours, which are yellow, red and blue together? How have you kept it so that you're getting that rich royal look rather than the clown look?
Well, you realise that they're not dominantly, they're muted colours, they're
the tints.
the tints and tones.
Yeah.
You haven't got the bright red and the bright yellow.
And the very strong hues.
The strong ones, so they're muted. The autumn, more into the autumn tonings.
Yeah.
And of course with green and the ferns, that mutes it down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to go high. It is a table setting. We thought this height was sufficient. And bearing in mind, we've got a window here behind us, which people will, when they come into the will look straight towards the light. So hence the choice of the lighter coloured chrysanthemums, which are easier to look at if you had a darker ones. So it's a mixture of spray chrysanthemums, standard ones, the lilies and the anthuriums and the greenery, and lovely berries, which are see how they echo?
Oh, look at them. I've just never seen it like that. They're luscious, aren't they?
Yes, they're
They're
lovely.
absolutely beautiful. And this mirror, did you have this mirror
My
made?
husband made the mirror. They are simply glass tiles.
Glass
which you
mirror
buy
tiles,
from
yeah.
Go to Mitre 10 and you can buy the glass tiles there on the backing, and a very fine edging, which one of our members had, our convener had that, and it's just been glued on, and then we made the bases, of course, to match. You see, that's a wooden base. There's a wooden base under the container there. It's just lifted.
And then this urn was then
The urn actually fits into there. That's the base of the urn.
on there.
And it just fits in there.
Easily made. I don't
is
think
easily
so. I
made.
think clever husband.
So, and I just put some vine in. This is
So there's floral foam and there's floral foam inside the urn there.
Yes.
And now that you're just building it up as you
Building
go,
it up,
because
that's
we've
right.
interrupted Anne halfway through. You'll see this
Yes.
one finished. But there's two on the end,
yes, and I got a little bit more. They're just to match and flow into there.
and of course it pulls it right out to the sides, doesn't it?
And we just got
Two wee ones up the top here as well.
up there,
So, oh,
which will echo what we heard
Off here.
And you see once again the china and all the things are the same colours.
yeah, and there's the glass fruit again. Oh, high five! Well done, you. Thank you, Anne. Thank you. caught up with Hannah. Hannah is the convener for this beautiful home.
My first thoughts were it's a glass house. We need to keep that light, open glass feel, which is why we're working so much with glass and water. We've got the pool just there, so it's all just glass and water. Very zen-like, very calm was my approach.
Yeah.
We all bought the containers that I requested. I asked for all their glass containers, and then we sorted out which ones we were going to use and how we were going to combine them. I don't like to intrude and implant my own personality in a house. I like to just work on, I don't know the owners, but what I imagine the owners are. We just like to build on those sorts of things and really celebrate the homeowners rather than me just sweep in and do me, because this is not my house.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all that energy you put in, so
That's
we're
right.
allowed to come and be nosy packers.
That's all right, you're more than welcome.
And outside, Hannah has created a fantastic idea using stones, shells, succulents and seed heads in these lovely, what we call koro patterns in New Zealand, which means swirly like the waves. Low-lying, add some candlelight for at night time with tea lights. It's a wonderful idea. And it also goes, of course, around the sun umbrella in a different part of the garden. Another home, look at that view, will you? Set this time on a board around the sun umbrella is a nest. Have a look, and they've put bits of twigs at the bottom and then all these lovely found objects like the pine cones, succulents, pumpkins, apples in coconut shells, all sorts of interesting things. So you could bring your barbecue plate over here, have a seat and go, oh, look what I'm looking at here. Good stuff. I'll leave you now to have a look at the rest of these fantastic designs. They're also part of the trail for the Manawatu florists, and enjoy the music. Remember, use your pause button. We need a good close long look. A quick flight across the Tasman, and we'll have a look and see what was available as far as table settings is concerned at the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show. Let's go in and have a look. final section, we visit the 3 Interflora competition entrance for the right to represent New Zealand at the World Cup.
It's just wicked for me because now I can introduce you to Nina Healy and her husband Ross, who you'll hear as a mysterious voice in the background, because these two are an awesome team. Nina owns Living Colour in Rotorua, and Ross is this amazing husband who does beautiful structures for Nina. That be right, Nina?
It would indeed. Without Ross's amazing structures to work to, because of the stability of them, I'm able to create a really good, strong design and gives really strong line for judging, and I know it's not going to fall apart.
Go Ross. So Ross, the voice in the past and the distance there. Ross, can you tell us how you actually even conceived how to make it?
We want to do something that's striking and to suggest movement, because it's an action movie. So, and steel was in keeping with it, because the table is set on a super yacht, and we wanted to do it in keeping with the structure of a super yacht and the look of a super yacht. So steel and aluminium looking was what we felt was the way to go. And it is at night, and aluminium, silver, it is the right look for a night setting.
And so what is this? Is that actually steel in there?
That's steel tubing, yeah.
And this is the boat. Did you carve the boat?
I carved it just out of pine, yeah.
And then it's spray painted, or
Yeah.
on the top of there. And how did you, like, is it a specialist engineering job to get these beautiful curves?
Yeah,
or was it your knee?
a little bit of both. No, I drew a pattern on a piece of cardboard and took it to a local company, and they bent up the initial shapes and did the rings for the table and the base. And then from there it was a matter of just tweaking them and bending them, literally a piece of wood and knee, and just force them into the right shape. And then once that was right, I had to build a jig to hold it all together to get my local welder to weld it into the right shape.
So it was really, what's cool about it is a real guy effort here, wasn't it? Of all these Rotorua, small firms in Rotorua, all this big guy effort. So you've got the artistic side of Nina and the practical engineering side of you, and you're going together. Look what we've got, isn't it?
Yeah, it worked really well. The tubing vendor, it's called Scorpro Engineering, they immediately grasped what we needed and didn't, it was easy, and they did exactly what we wanted. And even as with these things, it was always last minute, and the car painter up the road, he painted it at the last minute and got it all done, and it worked really well.
And so for somebody who is perhaps, let's say, in deepest America or England, who is saying, oh, I'd love to have a piece like this because I have a shop or something, this would be my piece, you'd recommend to them that they would scope out their local engineering firms and things?
Yeah.
We know when I lived in England and I wanted to do a table in Perspex, I actually found some people who could do what I needed. But the problem was, being a florist, I just sketched up some things, and the first thing they said to me, what's your point of access?
And you didn't even know what that meant?
No, I said, look, you're the engineer, you work it out, and they did.
And what is a point of access?
I have no idea.
What's the point of access? I don't know.
Well, I think it was because I had a sculpture piece, and I think it was, he needed some type of line to give reference going to the two sides to get the length, and probably the dimensions 358.
So if you don't mention point of access, they'll know you don't know what you're talking about, and they'll do it all for you. That's the key, isn't it, Ross?
If you smile sweetly and pay a lot of money.
Thank you, Ross. That's appreciated. We'll get on now with the actual flower part of it, Nina. So you had this stunning structure to work with that you both collaborated on. And then, how long did you have to actually make the design?
We were given an hour and a half, which is a wonderful length of time. But when you see the sheer quantity of flower that's actually on the piece, Ross and I put together a 6-point plan. And so I had each point to a timing schedule, and I knew that at certain points parts had to be sacrificed. So if I had got the wave done by a certain point, then I'd be able to complete the whole piece. But if I didn't, then I could remove the two down at this end, because so long as the wave actually connected all the way down through into the ground, it still would give the judges enough.
and obviously they don't know what I had fully planned.
No, so they won't.
So if I had it cleared away perfectly, it would have been fine, but I got to 0.6 with the correct timing, so I knew I could
It
complete.
saves an awful lot of stress.
It does, because you can actually go into panic mode very easily, and having lists, I'm finding, I can see how people who have stress do want things in a very ordered system in their life, and I can see the sense in it because it's very helpful to get through a piece like this.
So you started with the vine on there. Was that your starting point or the Astelia?
Oh, you very clever lady. Number one was the clematis vine,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
which Ross patiently picked all the leaves off for me.
I've done that with ivy.
Oh no, it's a horrible job.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do
Someone's
it. The test tubes were all added in the prep day, which was perfectly allowed.
Yeah.
So the first was the clematis vine, the second was the Astelia. Then I started with the Casablanca lilies, then the anthuriums, then the dendrobium orchids, then the swan lake. Then the rhipsalis went on just before the
As your little finishing
dendrobiums.
And also you've got these lights going through that I don't know if they're showing up on the camera, but because this is a night thing, isn't it? We're not supposed to have these hard daylight lights on them. And so incredibly romantic, wouldn't it be?
It is.
And just, oh wow, drawing you towards it would be amazing.
They're little LCD lights that have little batteries which are actually attached to the frame underneath, so I was independent to any type of electricity source.
Just click it through. What you
Click
have
it
to
through.
want.
Yes.
It was yours.
Yes, exactly. And
Now
they have a 30-hour burning time, which is amazing.
Oh, that's good. Let's have a look underneath. So underneath, we're now under the sea.
We're under the sea.
Okay. Ooh. There's a lot of air under here, Nina.
So you have to change colourings, settings and style.
Yeah.
You know, the boat, the wave out the back of a boat is very ordered because of the engines.
Yeah.
Whereas under the water you've got all the movement and the sea and the plant life and everything. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a piece of coral in there.
This one here.
Now I've
Real
had
coral here.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I've had that for 25 years in a box, and I have always thought, I'm going to need this one day, but not yet. And this was the opportunity. I have it in this piece and in the bridal piece.
And so, of course, so now that's Molenbeekia, isn't it? That's coming up as the...
It's a type of Carokia,
Oh, is it?
which looks just about like a Molenbeekia, but its stem is really hard and its leaves are tiny bit smaller. I have wonderful suppliers who just went out of their way. With a lot of my suppliers, I went to visit them to look at the anthuriums and found their garden and ended up with nearly all of my product was from the garden, not from their anthuriums. And the same with my hydrangea grower. The Carokia and a lot of the specialty foliages and the Astelias and things like that all came from the hydrangea grower.
And before we finish this piece, one thing is this carpet. You brought this carpet with you, didn't you?
That's right. A few days before I phoned the hotel. No, I phoned the hotel and I said, "Oh, what colour carpet do you have in the Trinity?" She said, "Oh, it's gorgeous. It's a lovely chocolate brown with a tan swirl through it." And I was like, I got straight on the phone to Ross. We need carpet. And the carpet guy was awesome. It was an off-cut and he let us have it at a really reasonable
and
price.
this is what we found as we travel. These exhibition places have the most bizarre carpet and it takes so much away from your piece, doesn't
It does,
You know?
it does.
And it's just like...
Well, I've had it happen before
Yeah.
and it's lost me points before, so I will never, rely on anything again. You
so
must
an
be
essential tool if you're competing a florist is to have a roll of carpet in some sort of a neutral colour.
very neutral, very simple, and it changes everything. It really does.
Just before we finish, we've turned off the lights because the lights muck up what you can see through your DVD, but Nina's also got lighting through here, so you've got one, if we'd had them turned on, coming up through underneath here as well, Nina.
Yes.
It's mainly because the top of the table will shadow underneath, so having a small light at the back shining through just lifts it all. At the end of the day, it's those first 3 seconds impact for the judges that will up your marks. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nina.
You're welcome.
Get off the floor.
And as a bonus, finally, we have the just-in photos from Urban Chic at Canada Blooms in Toronto. More of this in the June edition of Floral Design magazine. But enjoy this quick little preview.